Hi there, I am Fernanda Piper, and I'm going to take you on a journey through the astrological transits for this week. So from today, Friday, 17th of February, to next Friday. So I think next Friday is the 24th, if I'm not wrong, 7, 14. Yes. So the 24th of February. And how have you all been? Did you feel any kind of closure with the last quarter of the moon in Scorpio that we were talking about in the last video? Did you notice anything, or how is that going on for you? Other than the last quarter, there was also a few very intense conjunctions that happened. So we had Mercury Pluto conjunction at 29 degrees Capricorn, which was actually quite obvious, especially in the astrological community. There's a lot of like really heated debates and a little bit of the dark side, I would say, of the anaretic degree of Capricorn. We call anaretic the last and the first degree, so either 29 or 0 degrees of a sign. So the 29th degree of Capricorn, I think it came out as a very it's a bit of a shadowy side, to be honest, from my humble perspective. There was a lot of discussions on how systems, like, I really don't want to get into that or into the details, but I just felt there was a lot of conflict around authority. Who is the most authoritative, or what's the most authoritative view on the history of astrology? I mean, that sounds very Capricorn, right? Going backwards, looking back, very Saturnian as well. I remember one of my tutors saying that, because I had Jupiter, and I still have Jupiter and Capricorn, that was, that was obvious why I chose to study history. So this is the first degree I did. And I've always had a love for old things. That was actually what made me choose history. So there's a little bit about the history of astrology that was very, very heated in the last few days with that conjunction of Pluto and Mercury. But for you personally, how did that come out? Did you have difficult conversations with somebody? Like, how did that play out in your life? I did have an uncomfortable conversation with my partner. I was feeling this really strong need for a little bit of space. We share our space and we live together. We travel around together quite a bit, and it's wonderful. I mean, we get along really well, but I still feel the need to have space somehow, like the balance between sharing, being together, sharing a space, and being alone and like being my own person is still like a bit of a tightrope. It doesn't come very easy. I do have this duality represented by a very strong Uranian chart versus like a Libra moon and a Venus Neptune, so there's this sort of swing between merging and wanting to kind of separate and be on my own, and just run off, literally, with a Mars and Sag conjoined Uranus. So I did have a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation, which ended really well. He's quite open to conversations. He's got quite a lot of 8th house placements, Gemini as well, which is quite verbal as well. So in the end, it was actually very, very nice, as it ended up bringing us a little bit closer together. So did you experience anything like that? When you have to have a difficult dialogue, a difficult conversation at work, with a co-worker, with your boss, maybe, and that kind of actually it's like a way of blowing off steam and like just making the situation a little better, and developing a little bit more trust as well. Like in the end, we kind of trust more someone that can have a difficult conversation and be honest with us. So the same with whoever you may have had a conversation with as well. So let me know, write down in the comments. We also be having a Sun-Saturn conjunction, which I did talk about, I think, on a previous video. So Sun-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius, again, issues of authority or like commitments and responsibilities. I am doing my video slightly later if you do follow me, and I hope the algorithm won't punish me. And to be honest, I have to do things the way I have to do, regardless of the algorithm anyways, but I had to do a little bit later because it's been very hectic, a lot of like different commitments, different things that I had to tend to, clients as well, which is amazing. I'm not complaining. A lot of work, a lot of messaging and new opportunities that are kind of coming my way, but it sort of took its toll a little bit, and like this video is kind of coming a little later. I had lunch a lot later as well, and you know, well, is life. But that for me sounds a little bit like a Saturn-Sun conjunction, you know, and all of the commitments that we make, the responsibilities that we take as well, and that potentially we've been feeling that a lot stronger these days as well. And Venus Neptune, right? There's a lot of this sort of Venusian with Pisces and Neptune, this sort of like otherworldly desires as well, maybe the need for more soulfulness. In fact, my need to be alone had a lot to do with the spiritual practices, wanting to be alone, to listen to my inner voice and go back to my yoga practice, and you know, etc. So there's a little bit of a mix between the conversation with Pluto-Mercury, the spiritual practices with Venus, Neptune, and now all these commitments with the Sun, Saturn. For me, in my life, that's kind of how that played out. Let's put it that way. So let me know you on the other side there, like what's been going on for you, how's that, you know, playing out in your life. Astrological symbols are multivalent. There are lots of different ways of playing. And again, if you're just coming here for the first time, I work a constructive astrology. And I like to look into the symbols as a way to brainstorm what are the best possibilities. This is what we want to explore and bring into our lives, right? And excuse me if I sound a little weird, or if I'm, you know, saying things in a weird way. But I am very tired even on this hectic sort of this hectic day really that I've had. So let's have a look at the week. As I promised, let's have a look at what's going on astrologically for this week. So here we have the chart for the 17th of February, which is today. Sun-Saturn conjunction here, 27-28 degrees Aquarius, so it's happening. Venus-Neptune still within orb. So Venus-Neptune conjunction there was at 24 degrees Pisces, but you know, Venus is at 26 now, sort of moving away from that Neptune, but we still kind of have that in the air. Moon is in Capricorn, but the most interesting thing really happening this week is the new moon. So we headed towards the new moon, towards the new lunar cycle, towards, you know, we're like renewing the energies, and you know, again, great time for resting, great time for regathering, taking a deep breath, you know, in your life, in your projects. I think that's a good way of looking at new moon. Here we have a new, not new moon, a moon in Aquarius, so that's moving tomorrow, Saturday, and tomorrow is the last day of Aquarius season as well. So Sun at 29 degrees Aquarius. So on the 19th, boom, Sun in Pisces. So officially, that's the beginning of Pisces season. We're having an interesting trine here between Mercury Moon conjunction and Mars in Gemini. So that Mercury-Mars trine and Moon-Mars trine as well is kind of like thinking about action plan. You know how like Mars has been retrograde since October 22. We're kind of rethinking and not being so sure about how to move forward, what to do, blah, blah. We had a lot of like planets sort of moving, you know, backwards and then beginning to move forward again. And now since, you know, February, since late January, mid to late January, we had all of the planets beginning to move forward. And then the whole February, March, we have planets moving forward. So great time for us to also move forward with our lives. Not forgetting to take a few deep breaths in the you know, on the way, because we all deserve to take some rest, to, you know, be a little bit mindful of what our needs are, like, and etc., relaxing. So not forgetting that, but with this conscience stuff, it is a great time to move forward. It is a great time to go ahead. You know, all the launches you've been wanting to do, all the new services you've been wanting to do, the new house, the new place that you're searching, you know, the new job that you're after. Well, this is These couple of months are great for that. And I think this Mercury, Moon, Aquarius, and Mars is a little window from tomorrow. And not only tomorrow, because Mercury will still be within orb and applying to trine to that Mars. There's a window of opportunity to act on our thoughts and, you know, to act in a rational manner and to accomplish some things there as well. So beginning of Pisces season is the last sign of the zodiac. It's kind of a closure of an astrological year, right? So Pisces is like the end of an astrological year, preparing the ground for Aries season, right? I mean, I don't want to diminish Pisces in any way. Pisces is a season in its own you know, right. But it's like this sort of closure, the sense of closure with Pisces, right? The last sign, the 12th sign, the sign of union, going back to the source, and etc., transcendence. So we're sort of like planning that, and this new moon is very much at the beginning of Pisces season. Is at 1 degree Pisces, not too far from Saturn. And you know what? This is really about putting in to, you know, having a vision, yeah, something of a more sort of emotional, with an emotional quality there, because we're talking about water sign. We're not talking about fire sign, which is visionaire. We're talking about water. So something that we really feel strongly about is having that sense of, you know, that sense of what is possible, the sort of wishing well. I love that symbolism for Pisces, and Jupiter in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Venus, Neptune in Pisces, you know, new moon in Pisces as well. Is this sense of wishing well there, something, what are the possibilities there that we have? And looking into that and really imagining it as much detail as we can, like how does success look like? How does, you know, how do I look like when I'm being successful, etc. Because the more we can imagine there, the more we can actually accomplish and make it a reality. This new moon is a lot about turning dreams into reality. It's not about escapism. It's not about imagining something that's way, way far away. We can never do it. It is really about thinking about things that we can make it real. We can turn it into reality. Yeah. I think the proximity to Saturn is sort of reflecting that. And not only, but also the fact that Saturn in March will move into Pisces and will cross those degrees. It will, like, you know, very quick. It will go over 1 degree Pisces. So it will be challenging those dreams. It will be challenging the dreams we had during a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that happened last year as well. I think it's in April last year. So what were you thinking? What were you imagining? What did you want to manifest in your life? Well, Saturn is going to be challenging that in the next 2.5 years when it moves to Pisces. So this new moon carries a little bit of that signature, you know, of turning dreams into reality. So think about the things that you really want to bring, you know, to fruition in this life, in this lunar cycle, in your transits. If you have planets at the early degrees of Pisces, the early degrees of the mutable, in fact, you know, that's a lot about that. And it will happen at the very, very, very last degree of Venus in Pisces. There is 29:58 minutes of arc. So very powerful Venus when, you know, dream big. That's what I think, you know, with that Venus. Dream beautifully big. About harmony, about love, about compassion as well. Is a brilliant one for forgiveness, you know. Is anyone that you've been struggling to forgive? Is anything that you're struggling to let go, to leave it behind? That is especially auspicious full moon, new moon for you to do that, right? So it's also kind of coming to trine the South Node in Scorpio again, the sense of letting go of something, moving on from something, you know, letting go of a grudge, moving on from it. So I think this is the importance of this new moon in Pisces. And then we have Venus ingress into Aries, right? It's like our values are kind of taking a more punchy turn. So from the dream big and etc. with that Pisces, Venus is about taking action there, you know, taking action based on our values, be more individualistic as well, do things that will less selfless, you know, that Venus Pisces, a lot about selflessness and compassion. Well, that Venus in Aries is like, right, we let it go. Now we can move forward here. We can take action, right? It's like the beginning of the planets moving into Aries, like towards, you know, Aries sort of season as well, and that feeling of rebirth. There's a rebirth in relation to our values. Yeah. And that Venus will conjoin that Jupiter eventually. And that's an interesting one. So here we have, look, 22nd of Feb. That's when Mercury is really like forming this trine to Mars. So the fluidity between thinking and acting, swiftly. I like that word with like Mercury, Mars trine in air signs as well. It's like swiftly communicating what you want, you know, something that you couldn't communicate before. So I think that's an interesting time to put things into practice, take action. I have a webinar I'm giving to the Witches of Instagram, to their group, and I'll be giving it on the 25th. So this is going to be an amazing time. I had to make a note for myself. This is going to be a brilliant time to put it into practice, get all my slides ready, you know, put ideas into the presentation. Yeah. And then I'm going to be talking about Saturn in Pisces and Pluto in Aquarius, like two big transitions of 23, and what this might be meaning to us. You know, how can we work with this in a constructive way? Huh? I'm not going to be fear mongering anyone. I'm not going to be saying that this is going to be horrible. And I just saw like someone tweet like, oh, Virgos are going to have a terrible time for the next 2 years. It's like, what the heck? What the fudge? You know, I've been watching a lot of Unbreakable. What the fudge? Fudge all the heck. So anyhow, no, Virgos, including me, I don't think you're gonna have a horrible time now with Saturn moving into Pisces. I think this is a great time for accomplishing things, you know, for like getting things done, for moving ahead with your work, the hard work, with discipline, etc. More like that. Take a ride with it, you know, stop thinking about the worst. You know, when we are fearful, we think of the worst, what happens to us? We get paralyzed, right? We can't do anything because we think about so many bad things can happen. Do you feel like going to, you know, travel somewhere when you're thinking about all the worst things that can happen to you? Not really. Like, that doesn't inspire you to take intelligent action. So stop with that. Huh? Think about what is the best that you can do. Start training your brain to do that with astrology, with astrological symbols, because that is possible. Yeah, that is possible. And that's a great help to create the life you want. So Thursday, 23rd, I mean, we have Moon joining Venus and Jupiter there as well, giving that flavor of action. Yeah, again, Wednesday and Thursday with that Mercury, Mars, with that Moon, Venus in Aries as well. There's something quite, there's a lot of movement there in this configuration, and like you can like take advantage of that and take some action. Go, you know, go exercise as well. That's another great one with all the Aries. And yeah, that's it. I think, you know, I'm gonna stop here. 24th of February, I'll be back. Hopefully feeling a little bit more refreshed, not as tired. And then I can share with you a little bit more insights and things, you know. So go check the Witches Circle, which is Witches of Instagram here on YouTube. There is a voice note I gave to them, about the new moon Pisces with different insights. Okay, authenticity and spontaneity is very important to me. I wouldn't just repeat the same things in this video. So I'm saying something different here than I was saying there. And if you're interested, go have a look, check it out. In the meantime, wish you a wonderful new moon full of dreams that are achievable. Yeah. And thinking about what's the best that you can do with these transits, right? And if you're having a transit that you're feeling a bit unsure, write down in the comments. I'll be super happy to give you a little bit of a, you know, brainstorm constructive astrology way of looking at it and welcoming that energy, you know, taking your surfing board and taking a ride with these astrological transits so you can make the most of it. All right. And wishing you all a wonderful weekend. And I'll be seeing you all next Friday. I am Fernanda Paiva, Hitchhiking Stars.